How you doing, family? Okay, I wanted to do this video for you. Uh, I wanted to go over these key points about, uh, it's been a while, and I wanted to talk with you about the importance of being self-actualized and being self-aware. To be self-aware is the first step. That's to be awakened or to be reminded of what we are, and who we become when we come back through reincarnation, when we come back into human form. And the reason I'm doing this video is to put a little more meat on the bones when it comes to talking to you about and explaining the details and the importance and the priority we need to put on the two different aspects of first becoming self-aware and then becoming self-actualized. Okay. And then after that, once you get these two components together, then you will be able to look at our human form and value the human form better and more, because you now understand, based on what you comprehend about what you are and the who you become, which is the human, with what the human form offers and gives us, and then to become, when you go back to becoming self-aware, the awareness comes from you understanding and accepting the concept of what we are as a perfect being that is basically constantly aware and can never escape being aware of everything at the same time. Now, in the beginning, on the surface, this sounds like a very powerful and great thing. Oh yeah, I'm aware of everything all the time, and at the same time, how powerful I am. And this sounds very romantic and very great. But in reality, if you take a second and think about being something all the time and never being able to escape it. See, it sounds pretty and cute as long as you can escape it. But when you're dealing with something that is 24/7, you can never escape it, that's a problem. That creates a really huge problem. And we have got to comprehend, and I'm postulating something that nobody else has ever. I've never heard this from anybody, and I'm gonna keep repeating this. This is my theory and a belief that I have been given, an understanding I've been given by the universe, and I believe in this full-heartedly, and I'm embracing this. And I'm promoting this, and I'm not asking no permission from nobody. And that's another thing about being self-actualized. First, I can make you aware, and I can tell you the concept and explain the concept to you of what awareness is based around and what helps me to become self-aware and reminded of what we are, which is an infinite being that is constantly aware and watching existence. And we are the only. We are a totality. Now, as a macro being, there is only one. We are one. As a micro being, now we become two. And that's important. That's very important from the perspective of a macro being. Okay? Because a macro being is capable of doing whatever it wants, because it's the only one of its kind. So what a macro being had of the three skills that it has, or powers that it has, is omnipresence, omnipotence and omniscience. Omnipotence is the most important thing because it speaks to its ability to make changes to what is. And as an omnipotent being that is by itself and there is nothing else but it now can create whatever it wants. And so what it wants to escape and what it gets tired of is being alone. See, if you the only thing and there's nothing else around you, that's not cool. That's not fun. Okay. So if you have the ability to create whatever you want, imagine yourself a being that could create whatever you want. And so the first thing you're going to create is companionship, something that's other than you, even if it's an illusion. Okay. And that's what Amma did. That's what we are as micro beings. And I'm just asking you to let's have a debate. Okay. We are equals. Let's have a debate. Okay. And let's look at it from this perspective, that Amma has decided to create a companion. That companion, it has called a micro being. That micro being is what you and I are. Except we are now couched in a second step. Amma also created the human form to balance out the micro being. We balance out Amma by being micro beings, and Amma is macro being. So that's the first balancing. And I should say this I should preamble this by saying what Amma also wanted to do, and what Amma has already also set into motion, is that to bring balance to its macro self, it created us as micro beings. 2 reasons Amma did that. 1, for companionship. 2, because it brings balance to an otherwise imbalanced situation of singularity. Okay, because the way Amma has set things up, everything is set up to be dual. From the moment Amma created us as micro beings, that set up the first duality. So now duality now has become a law of all of creation and all of existence. So Amma wants to be balanced, to bring balance to everything. And so therefore, the micro being was created. But as micro beings, we exist on another sub-level of macro, right? We are within macro. So to bring balance to ourselves as micro beings, Amma created the human form, because the human form is the opposite of the micro being. Because let's go backwards. Macro being is totality and sees everything at the same time all the time. It still does that. But it also now has created something that is a higher priority of everything else. And that thing is the micro being, which is an aspect of itself that has similar powers that it has of ability to create, which we have. At birth, we're born with this. But Amma also created us to allow Amma to escape the feeling of being alone. Now, as micro beings within itself, Amma now can transmute its awareness, not only from thinking, being aware of everything all the time, at the same time, for the first time since Amma created us, Amma has the ability through us to experience the ability to have a single awareness like it had before, however, within itself. And therefore, this single awareness has the ability to be aware only of itself, and not everything else. See, as a macro being, Amma is aware of everything at the same time. But the opposite of that is never to be able to be aware of any one thing at a time. Amma can never escape the ability to be omnipresent, which is to be everywhere at the same time. And again, I'm telling you, that is something Amma could not really escape. But Amma was able to create the illusion of escaping omnipresence by creating us as the micro being and being able to transmute its awareness into us and through us. So through us as micro beings, Amma now can experience individuality, which is something it was an individual, but it was a singular individual with no companionship. But as a micro being, we are a single individual, but there are an infinite number of us. So we have companionship on the micro being level. So Amma can transmute its awareness into us and now experience companionship through us. We have the illusion of being individuals, but amongst a sea of other individuals that we can turn and look at and talk to and experience and exchange ideas and talk to, where Amma can't do that on a macro level. There is nothing, there is no partner, there is no companion on a macro level. Amma is everything at the same time, and it is the only entity that has that ability. So as powerful and grand as that sounds, it is irrelevant when you're by yourself, because those things only have a granular and power and all that stuff relative to who? It's to yourself. It's not powerful if that's all you can do. Then it's not powerful. It just is. So you got to understand, you got to use logic, family. You got to look at it from a micro perspective. See, and this is the value of being micro, family. This is what I have here on this slide. If you look here, I'm going to go ahead and share this slide with you, because I want you to understand that this is the importance of being self-aware. In order to be fully self-aware, you have to be aware of this basic fundamental understanding of Amma needing to escape its macro-ness. And so I'm giving you all of this background so you will be able to comprehend what I'm talking about. And so now it will expand your ability to value things totally differently. And this is what the MAGA and the filthy Confederates and these MAGA Republicans and these religions, they don't want you to think about this. Remember, they try to tell you, lean not unto your own understanding, because they want to conserve and keep you in the past, bogged down in a matrix of nonsense, because they don't want you to be empowered by this realization of self. And that's why I say to be self-actualized is to be liberated from the confines of what they want to do. And I'm not saying that does not serve a purpose. It serves a purpose because it gives us back pressure. And it creates the ability to have structure, is to have what you call a contradictory force that is fighting against the expansion of awareness and reality. Okay, so they serve a purpose, but my job is to awaken you, and so we can continue to expand the reality and the truth of what we are, and expand our ability to create a better world and a better personal environment and a better micro environment. Okay, so once we accept that Amma wants to escape now this constant perfection, the way Amma escapes presence, which is to be everywhere all the time at the same time, it created the micro being. Now we are in one particular place at one particular time, and we now can even experience time, because again, as I've said in the past movies, once you're omnipresent and you're everywhere at the same time, time doesn't exist for us as a macro being, because there's nowhere to go. Movement is related to time. And if you're everywhere all the time, there's nowhere to move to, because you're already wherever you're thinking about being or going to. There's no going. Why would you go somewhere you already are? And you are everything. So therefore, there is no such thing as going. It doesn't exist for you. That only comes into existence once we transmute our awareness into the micro being that we are. Now we can experience one particular thing at a time, one particular scene at a time. On Alma's level, there are no scenes. There's no such thing as a scene. Everything is Alma and a scene. There's only one scene that Alma sees, and that scene is everything. So as micro beings, that's why I only tell you that for the sake of background. Now, if we accept that, and let's come into the micro world, because the micro world is really where Alma wants to be. Alma wants to be in this micro world. Want us to, it lives vicariously through us by choice. And it's not a, you have the illusion of choice, but in reality, it's called an order. And the order is not something you can choose to disobey. Not in this sense. This is a macro order. This is something you will do and will be. You don't have a choice, but you have the illusion of choice. See, that's how nice Alma is. Alma is so brilliant. It gives us the illusion of choice. Oh, come on, family. And again, that's another thing. What I want to talk to you in point 3. I'm sorry. I want to put this up. Let me share this with you. I'm not sharing. Okay, so I want to share this. This is my bullet points that I'm working with here. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about here. I'm at this point here where we're talking about being self-actualized. This is the key thing here, to be self-aware and to be self-actualized. This is the important thing. And everything I talked about is related to this. And again, I had to get you that background so you understand. We're looking now from the perspective of a perfect being that is all by itself and has no companion. So what does it do? It has also the ability to create whatever it wants, whenever it wants, for however long it wants. And everything it creates is infinite. Okay, so it created the micro being, so we are infinite micro beings. We will always be micro beings. And we will always have a human form, because what Alma did, it created the micro being, but the micro being is still perfect. See, the micro being brings balance to the macro being just by it coming into being, okay? But it's still perfect. So in order to balance out as a micro being, we're still perfect and we're infinite. We're still infinite. And see, this is a key point of what I love about Aaron Worley's book, where she talks about having full knowing, and the fact that Alma does not, from the macro perspective, the only entity that Alma sees as real is the micro being. And the reason that Alma sees the micro being as real is because the micro being is infinite. Alma only sees infinite things as real. Everything else is not real to Alma. Doesn't exist. It exists, but it doesn't. Alma doesn't need to value it. Alma doesn't need to pay attention to it. Alma created it not so it can pay attention to it. Alma created it so it can transmute its awareness into it and experience things through the micro being perspective that it could never experience from a macro being perspective. The macro being perspective is so perfect and so total singularity that there is no need for it. It doesn't need to be prayed to. It doesn't see you. It only sees the micro beings. But the micro being is the macro being in micro form. So why would you pray to yourself? That's like stupid. So that's why I say the churches and the religions, the things that they're postulating and indoctrinating people with, those are things of the past. And that was the best intelligence they could muster up back then, 20,000 years ago. That's the best they could muster up. Even the African brothers and sisters have, the best they could muster up is this, all of these different levels of all these stuff. Listen, hey, I'm not putting any of that down. All I'm saying is this is my thing. This is what I'm promoting. And my thing is I'm promoting something that's new and different and contemporary. This is not from the past, but I'm not judging the past. And I might have people may have misinterpreted that, and I was a little bodacious and kind of robust about overly animated and passionate about my views. And when you're doing something that's new, family, it's always a learning process, and you're going to make mistakes. And the beauty of being in a human form is we are by design supposed to make mistakes. Understand and value that, family. You see what I'm talking about? That this is part of my fascination with awakening and becoming aware and me being what I am. When you become self-actualized and self-aware, you define everything. You define and you define what you value. You define what is important. You define what is good and what is bad. That's what it is to be self-actualized, is you define everything for yourself. And you don't need no outside people to define anything for you. That's my job, is to help people understand that it's perfectly normal to define everything for yourself. Yes, you should consider and be considerate of other folks outside of us. Yes, absolutely. That's a part of, again, being balanced and trying to be reasonable. Okay, and this is the kind of life you want to. You don't want to be too far this way. You don't want to be too far that way. The whole goal is to be like in the middle. Okay, and so this slide here talks about these particular things here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide over here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to put these slides up on the side so I can, because I want to be a little more present for you, okay, and let you, I want you to hear what I have to say, and also give you, let you follow me on these slides as we go, okay? So moving on, I think I dealt with the being self-aware and being self-actualized at the same time, okay? I think I dealt with that pretty well. And it's just important for you to understand what we are, and as a micro being, the importance of what we are. This is why I decided to do this whole movie, is because, as you know, this has never been taught, family. I've done 40, 50 years of this stuff, and I've never heard anybody break it down the way I'm breaking it down for you. Each one of us, as you become aware, you're gonna bring to the table what the universe is revealing to you. I'm revealing to you what the universe has revealed to me, okay? And I'm going to explain things the way I have interpreted it from my perspective. And a lot of people are going to be trying to best what I'm doing and saying that I'm wrong and they have a better way and all, and that's okay too. But see, I don't really care about that. And it's not that I'm selfish or anything like that. I'm not going to let anybody stop me from fulfilling my purpose. And my purpose is to explain this to you. And I don't care whether anybody accepts it or not. And I don't take it personal if they don't. They don't have to. Each person this is being given to those who are ready to accept it. And later on, people will eventually understand that what I'm offering to you is what I'm living. I'm living this truth. So I'm totally free. That's why it doesn't matter whether anybody else accepts it or not. It's not important. What is important is that I put this out here for the others who need this as a tool to help them to get a handle on their lives and be able to live a more joyful and happy life, and a life free of fear and confusion and terror that the religions are dumping on people and causing them to live their lives in terror if they do not follow their doctrines. And those doctrines may serve a very vital purpose for people who are totally and completely lost. And I'm offering just another path to being able to overcome being totally and completely lost. Okay? So this explanation about the macro being and the micro being, and the importance of the micro being having to be balanced out by the human form. That's the next step. You got the macro being and the micro being bringing balance to the macro being. Now you got the micro being, and it needs to be balanced out by the human form, which brings balance to the micro being. And the human form fulfills the other purposes that Alma wants to experience. Because again, the micro being is still infinite and still perfect, because it's a direct representative of Alma, and it can never die. It can never even experience death. I take that back. No. The micro being is the first entity that can experience death because of the human form, because Alma decided to create the human form and put the micro being into the human form. So now, because we are so hermetically sealed and connected to the human form, we now can experience all of the things that only the human form can experience. We already experience the illusion of individuality through the micro being, but the micro being is still infinite. It cannot die. It can only watch. Actually, the micro being doesn't have any feelings either. Like the subconscious machine that creates everything, it doesn't have any feelings either, because it's another infinite entity. Anything that's infinite doesn't have feelings, doesn't have memories. It does have memories, but it's a macro memory of the things it's experienced as a human form. Because as a micro being and attached directly to a macro being that knows everything and is everything, there is no learning there. You are everything. Everything that's going to be created, you already are. So that's another thing Alma wanted to escape, knowing everything before it even happened. So being a micro being encased in a human form, now we have the illusion of not knowing. Family, you have got to understand the value of not knowing. Something that is omniscient, which means you know everything all the time and at the same time. So nothing can happen that you don't already know. There is no surprise. There is no journey. There is no discovery. Those words don't exist for you because you know everything all the time. So macro being wants to escape that. It creates micro being and encase micro being in human form. So now every time the micro being is incarnated into human form, the memory is wiped from the last incarnation, and the fact that it is even a micro representative of the macro. Alma completely wipes the memory So now you can experience discovery. You can experience learning. You can experience surprise. You can experience achievement. Otherwise, you would not be able to experience any of these things. And Amma is all about experiencing things that it otherwise could never experience on a macro level. So the micro being is the only thing that Amma sees as real and that talks directly through and to it. That's the intuitive intelligence is the macro being in the micro being itself. And that's why you can intuitively, like I'm doing right now, everything I'm teaching you and talking to you about, this is Amma talking directly to itself, which is you looking at this video through your human form. But you're Amma, I'm Amma, we are Amma as micro perspectives that have the illusion of individuality, which is what something Amma could never experience before it created us. And we became a we the moment Amma created a micro being. Now it is no longer it. We are now a we because there's two. There's macro and micro. That's two. So now it has become a we. Amma has fragmented itself into a billion infinite number of fragments. And each one of those fragments, nanites, is called an individual, has the illusion of a micro being, which is a micro individual perspective that has the awareness of presence, okay, of existing. This is fascinating. And again, as you see here, the reason Amma created the micro being, which is what we are. We become a we the moment the micro was created. We allow Amma to escape, okay, omnipresence, which is being everywhere all the time at the same time, which is nowhere in particular. So in order to be in one place in particular, Amma created the micro being. Now we are here in this one place experiencing time and experience the ability to look at one thing at a time, which is something Amma could never experience. And it's all about experiences, family. Experiences, what it's all about. The illusion of individuality. I wish I could give you the joy and the happiness that comes from the fascination of becoming aware of this most valuable awakening, realization of self, okay? And this is what I say, to become self-aware is to just become aware. But to become self-actualized is the ability to teach yourself and learn from, really to teach yourself, okay? And learn from the teachings and the full knowing of what you are. Fascinating. And what I hope this will give you is, if you accept this structure that I'm offering you, it should explode into a strong sense of, I get goosebumps because of the fascination of the order and the structure. If you accept it and you fully understand it and comprehend what I'm trying to explain to you, coming from the perspective of a macro being that is aware of everything all the time, and then finally getting the experience of experiencing one thing at a time within itself, just the structure of that, family, is fascinating. I find it to be fascinating, and I hope that I'm able to give that to you by way of instruction and in teaching, okay? So why our human is so important to Amma is what I said about bringing balance to the micro being. This is the micro being here, and this is the human form. Now, the micro being is infinite. The human form is finite. It only lasts for 100 years. And the memory, once you come in, the micro being is incarnated in each reincarnation. We only will get to experience what we experience in the human form within existing through this human form for 100 years. Now, that's just the way it's set up. You don't have to believe me. Do your research and you'll see it's about 100 years, okay? Now, the reason Amma created the human form is because even though the macro being allowed it to experience individuality, but Amma still is infinite, can't die. Don't even know what the word that Amma, like I said, Amma does not see anything from the human form as being real because it's temporary. Now, the micro being sees the human form as being real, okay? But if you skip over the micro being and go to the awareness and become aware and looking at everything from a macro perspective, Amma doesn't see the human form as being real. It's not real because it's temporary. It doesn't exist. It only exists for a short period of time. So therefore, I'm saying, and that's why when I hear people talking about praying to Amma, are you crazy? I mean, what are you out of your... I'm sorry, family. I laugh at those kind of things. You don't need to pray to an omni being. And that's another thing I want to talk about. This concept of anthropomorphizing Amma, the macro being that we are, treating it as if it's some human man and get mad and angry and jealous and all this stupid, childish nonsense. This is where I have a big problem with these churches. And I don't think they're doing it. I think they're doing it on purpose, but I think they really do believe it's real. And again, Amma doesn't see the human form as being real. So if you humanize Amma don't even give a damn. I was getting ready to say Amma, people saying Amma is upset. Are you out of your mind? Why would a entity that doesn't even see the human form as real, any humanization of itself as real, it doesn't see it as real. So why would you waste your time, number one, thinking about it as a man, which, and you can't insult it. You can think about it as a man all you want, but you're not doing nothing. You're wasting your time. Amma doesn't give a damn about what you think about it. Doesn't care. Only thing Amma sees real is the micro being that we are. And as a micro being, we don't need to pray to ourselves. That's stupid. You need to focus on using your power of creation by repeatedly focusing and seeing clear vision about the things that you want as we look into existence and the experiences that we are here to do. We are here to experience life through the human form that is temporary. Because through this human form, now Amma can experience death, Amma can experience birth, Amma can experience love, Amma can experience grief, Amma can experience problems that it otherwise could not otherwise experience. See? So now the micro being that can never die, that's what we are. And we will always be that because Amma set it into motion, and Amma only creates infinite things. It also created the human form, but it doesn't see it as being real. When I say creates infinite things, I mean things that it sees as real. And that's only the micro being. Everything else that exists, it exists. But I'm kind of like, yeah, okay. But you're going to be gone in 100 years. So what's the point? So again, I shouldn't say you are going to be gone. This human shoe that we use, this body human form. And I only say it from a macro perspective. It's like a shoe. It's no big deal. But from a micro perspective, we have to respect it and treat it well because we exist within it. We are like right here, married. Like Baba Kaba says, is two sides of a single coin, right? The human form and the micro being. It's one coin, all right? It's a duality, but it's one coin, all right? So we have to appreciate, and the reason why I explained to you about the human form this way is because now we can appreciate and value, and that's why I say here, the human form is so important, not to armor, because to say that it's important to armor is kind of like a misnomer. It's not important to armor, it's useful to armor. And not even, I shouldn't even speak about it from an armor perspective. It's important to us as micro beings because we directly use it and need it in order to have these human experiences. So forget about armor. Us as micro beings, we have to value this human form because it allows us to experience things that we otherwise would not be able to experience. This illusion of death, we can't die. We just keep jumping from human form to human form to human form to human form. But here's why you got to value it. Because all of the family, all of the children, all of the relationships, all of the emotions, all of the memories, all of the pictures we have of scenes of living with people and experiencing love and caress and touch and warmth and hugging and kissing and embracing and being loved and being safe and feeling even the feelings of pain and suffering and then salvation, hunger and being hunger and then being satisfied. All of these feelings, physical and emotional, are things you otherwise would never be able to experience. And that's why the human form was created, and it has to be respected. But you can never let the human form control every aspect of your being, because it is not that smart. It's not designed to be in control. It's designed to be used, okay, by the micro being, not by other human forms, by the micro being. Micro being is the user. Now, when you get into other humans forms, micro beings in human form using you and to do their thing, that's kind of a part of the structure of nature itself. Everything in existence, as I've said in my book, is designed to live off of something else. Now, that's the way nature has been set up, and Amma set all of this into motion. And this is the way this is the order and the structure that was created. But as a micro being in human form, in order to experience happiness, joy, and control, and avoid anxiety, paranoia, and fear, anger, and all these other unnecessary and weaknesses, I call them weaknesses because they rob you of your ability to have a high quality of life. You have to be able to control what happens to you and be protected, okay, from the others in this society who are not as well educated as you are, because you're watching this movie. And I'm explaining, giving you structure and giving you boundaries and empowering you by waking you up to the powers and abilities that you have that they don't know nothing about. And they may stumble onto them and they may be using these powers, but they don't understand how they work. What I'm giving you here is I'm explaining to you how it works. By explaining the law of attraction and the law of repetition, I'm explaining to you how it works. And you using those tools in order to get what you want, when you want, what you want, okay, in your life. And it allows you to watch the folly and all of the crazy nonsense that they talk about, and you just ignore it. See, that gives you peace of mind, and you're okay in your own skin, and you're not afraid of death either, because you know you can't die. You know this is just one experience, and you fully embrace all of the emotions. The time you spend now with your children, and you realize now sitting home watching TV is not a bad thing together. But to only do that hours and hours and hours, if that's your choice, I mean, fine. I'm not judging nobody. I don't see that as a way of really enjoying life. I want to take my children and my nieces and my nephew and my family, and I want to go camping. I want to go have experiences. I want to take them to the pool. I want to take them to the park. I want to interact with them, with the beings that are in human form. I don't want to plop them in front of a TV and walk away and leave them over there and say, phew, I don't have to deal with that. No. See, you're buying into the Matrix. The Matrix, which teaches you to use people and love money and material things. That's the human form. Those are micro beings that are trapped in their human forms. And their human forms now is calling the shots. And see, that's why I say the human form, when it is allowed to get into control and trap the beings, the micro beings inside the human form, it becomes a very brutal, and it serves a purpose, but it becomes a very brutal, dumb, stupid, psychopathic even. That's how far out of control it can become, because you got to remember, you're an infinite being having a human experience. So these are just experiences. So in reality, time doesn't really exist for us as micro beings either, because we can't die. We just keep coming into human form over and over and over again. But you want to have a quality of human experience. This human experience, you want to have it be as high quality as possible. So now knowledge is power, because now that you know this, you are aware of it, and you can see things totally different from other people, and you value, appreciate, and be fascinated by this human experience, because you are in total control of it. You are no longer being controlled by it. And that's the difference between being self-aware and self-actualized and not, and being spiritual. If you're not spiritual and you're just religious, you can be religious and get by. You can get by, but you're not going to be nearly as powerful as a person who is spiritual, who is self-aware and self-actualized. To be self-actualized is to be fully aware of your powers, free from the fear of death, free from any paranoid, psychopathic, unvalidated nonsense and tricks and games and con jobs that the dumb brutes that are in the world constantly bombarding the dumb, uneducated, unenlightened sheeps and cows that are in the world, that are trapped in their human forms because they're too lazy or have not been fortunate enough to run into this video and become awakened. Okay, so the goal of this video was to make you aware of these three aspects of what it is to be self-aware, which is awakened, and then self-actualized, which is to take charge and take full control and define every aspect of your living and have a purposeful day-to-day living. Everything I do in my life, I see it in my mind first, and then I act it out in this world. Anything that is not what I want, I kill it in my mind right then and there. I dismiss it. And I say, no. That means I'm not having reactive thoughts that are coming from my experience in this environment. Oh, no. But see, again, when I go into my meditations, I drop back into not thinking and just being the watcher and realizing that I'm a infinite micro being that cannot die. And all this stuff that I'm seeing and experiencing is just about this human experience for this 100 years that I'm in this human form. Okay? And see, that's where I always drop back to. And that keeps me grounded in the reality of what I am as a micro being, and I can never die. And all of this, all this is just like almost fun because it's not real. It's just temporary, but it's fun because I totally control it. See? So I'm totally self-actualized. I control every aspect of it. I don't care what anybody says. And I don't need nobody to go before no God. I don't need to pray to God. That's stupid. I don't need to. It's God put us here to be doing this, to be self-actualized. See, that's when that's what being aware teaches you. Get in the business of being self-actualized. Do your job. Control every aspect of this human experience. That's what this is about. Be fascinated by the structure that we have set into motion. Okay? Be the individual. Enjoy this life to the max. Get the dogs, get the cats, pet the animals, look into their eyes, play with them, have fun, play with your children, play with each other. Spend the bulk of your time not living vicariously through a television and some basketball player or some pimp or some NBH, black folks calling each other nigger bitches and hoes. All that vicarious wasting of time. I mean, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. I'm really not judging it, but it's just relative to the level of awareness that I prefer. I don't see those things as having value at all. I don't see diamonds and gold and all that stuff I have no value. That means nothing to me. What has value to me is spending time with my people and with my family. African culture, spending time enjoying my Africanness, because as a human form, again, the reason I did this video is to actually bring more value to the human form and to respect the human form, and then to raise the awareness of African human forms as the first human forms, and to now focus and value that we were the first human forms that Amma decided to put on this planet. That's all I'm focused on, is where Amma put me here on this planet. And I'm an African, brown-skinned African. Everybody else comes from us as Africans, period. That's how this go, folks. That's how this go. Okay? So it's not about being better. It's about being first. And as African, I'm first, okay? And I'm bathing in that. I don't give a damn what the Eurasians do. Yeah, okay. One day, maybe I might bump into one of them. But be honest with you, now that I'm aware, and I know that I'm a part of the first human form that was ever created on this planet called Earth, everybody else is just a sideshow. Everybody else came from my human form, okay? So with that awareness, I function and I identify out of that. So I look at everybody else in the world through that first person perspective, as Baba Philippe Matthews has taught and teaches brilliantly. But it's important that we not take it out of context and lose perspective, and keep it in a spiritual perspective, and comprehend that the Eurasians, as they mutated, that crawled out of the caves 20,000 years ago, they just got here, and they're left side, and they're great at fragmenting and doing what they do, and I'm not taking nothing from them. But see, I value those of them who are about higher learning and higher awareness. I don't put them down or have any hatred at all against Eurasians. They are my children. They are from my human form. They are the mutates out of my human form. So that's my brother and my sister. They just mutated, and they have a totally different human form perspective and the way that they think. And it's just different, and it serves the totality. Like me as a right-sided African, I serve the totality of the human forms that exist on this planet, and we all have to live in harmony with each other. Now, the Eurasians are just coming out of their 100,000 year, 300 year ice age, and they've been mutated into these barbaric humans, and they're still working that out. And that's current. Look at what Russia is massacring. They're massacring each other. And if they believe in this white supremacy stuff, what you think they would do? They're still trying to overcome the fact that they crawled out the caves and they looked up and we had created everything already. Languages, sciences, chemistry, you name it, civilization itself, engineering, the Stone Age, the Sphinx, the pyramids. I'm not talking about no damn Clovis leaf spears and crap that they created coming out of the cave. That's their Stone Age. Our Stone Age is the Sphinx, is the pyramids, is the step pyramids, is all the sculptures and everything that had these big African noses when they crawled out of the caves and they saw all that stuff. See, that's our Stone Age. Stonehenge and all that stuff, the Olmec heads and all that stuff, that's our Stone Age. They don't know nothing about none of that stuff. They never created any of that stuff. Now they're creating, carving 4 presidents' heads in some mount, whatever the hell that is, over in some park somewhere. That's cute. That's their imagery. I'm not putting that down either. But that can't compare to the Sphinx. Sphinx been there for so damn long, they don't even know how old the damn thing is. Okay, so again, when you're self-actualized and you know your history, you don't let nobody else make you feel inferior on any level. They can't do it because you know the truth and you live out of truth. And that's what I say you have to learn. Once you become self-actualized, self-aware first, self-actualized next, then you learn to be in the world, but not of it. You become self-guided, self-initiated, self-defined, and you're able to motivate. You become self-motivated and self-driven. It's not selfish, but it's just your ability to be stable and solid and to be able to confront and defeat mentally these the descendants of us, the children of us. You don't care how much rockets they send up in outer space, the technology they're using and the math they're using, we created. They just built on top of it. Like everything else in nature, that's the way it is. They haven't done anything wrong. That's nature, that's the way it is. But that don't make them better than us. See, that's the problem. See, they keep saying they're better than us. See, and that's why we got to light into their behinds. And that's what I will do. Not that I believe I'm better than them, but I'm ahead of them. My ancestry is older than theirs. Oh no, I'm not taking no backseat to none of their crap. And when they get in the room with me, I'm gonna light them up. And I want you to do the same thing. Light them up with the truth and the reality of what they are. They just crawled out the cave. They were cannibals, vampires, werewolves, eating each other. We did that long time, millions of years ago. We passed the eating each other stuff. Well, I don't think there's no proof of any human being eating each other. That's an ice cave, unique and purely mutated ice cave experience. Eating each other, cannibalism on that level. There might have been one of two tribes of people that they're roaming around might have done something like that, but there's no evidence of it that I've ever seen other than what they found in the cave. Look at the book Iceman Inheritance. He breaks it down beautifully. But that's not something I'm gonna fixate on. I'm not gonna keep throwing that in their face. But when they start talking about they're better than black people, all the ones that say that, I'm gonna hit them, I'm gonna smack them right in the teeth with Iceman Inheritance. I said, oh yeah? Oh, okay, let's go. And I eat them alive. And that's what I want you to be able to do. Okay, family? So I wanted to be able to bring this to your attention so that you can escape and value the human form and what it's bringing to existence, and value your micro being and the infiniteness and the fact that you can never die. And we are here to have these beautiful experiences, and your experiences will become more beautiful because you're aware. and you're self-actualized, and you value and you understand the structure and the anatomy of existence, and using your power of belief by defining everything for yourself. So you define your beliefs for yourself, as opposed to dealing with the indoctrination of these backwards religions and these cults and these filthy MAGA Confederate maniacs and psychopaths and vampires, werewolves, and ghouls, because that's what they really coming out of. And it's going to take them another 50, 60,000 years before they finally become fully human. The MAGA ones, they are good. In America and all throughout Europe, there's a whole bunch of already civilized. And Europe has become, they got away from all, they kicked all of them filthy things out and sent them over to America. That's why in America, you have all these MAGA and all of these filthy, dumb brutes like Trump and DeSantis and all these filthy, half-witted morons running around trying to pretend that they know what the hell they're talking about. But, let's let them play their game. And while they do it, I'll be in the world, but I'm not going to be of the madness and insanity that they are putting down. And when they approach me, again, get your martial arts together. Get your firearm training together, because we have to survive their stupidity. See? And you got to protect yourself, and we got to shoot back. And if they do any stupid things, lop off an arm, break a finger, appropriately go up the ladder of self-defense, mentally and physically. We don't take no backseat, and we ain't playing no games with none of them, because they are killers. And so we have to protect ourselves from them and exist and have joy and happiness in spite of them. Okay, family? And that's why I'm doing this video, is to arm you with this data and all of this insight and awareness, in the hopes that it will give you peace of mind, strength, awareness, and an ability to enjoy this human experience to the fullest. Okay, family? I'll see you in the next movie. One love and hotel.